So, Sai this season, let me see my notes. It's so dark in here. I can't read. Okay. Sai this season is okay. She's more likable, I would say, because I think that, if you're on a reality TV show, one second. Oh, there we go. And I think that when you're on a reality TV show, that is the ultimate mirror to yourself, right? That's the ultimate mirror of seeing yourself. So I do think that Sai is more likable because she's trying to be more self-aware, but she also is very like new therapy person where it's, well, I want to talk about everything and I want to get to the bottom of this and being very on edge and being very analytical and like, no, da, 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 and these are my feelings and what are your feelings? So it's kind of just like relax, chill a bit into yourself. Yes, be more self-aware, less mean and reactionary the way you've been, but also everything doesn't have to be more than what it is. Like the whole conversation around Raquel driving or not driving and Erin telling her about car sickness, that was so stupid and boring. Like they have the dumbest conversations. Like when they were talking about the cheese last season, I was like, this is so boring and dumb. Nobody cares. Raquel driving because she's car sick, who cares? Like Sai, the problem with Sai is that, and a lot of people sort of like her, is that if you say anything about her, she takes it as criticism. So Raquel just saying, oh, they were both in the front seat and so I had to drive, whatever. She took it as criticism rather than just a comment, if that makes sense. So it's kind of where I feel up on Sai. And then I think that Sai, when it comes to her versus Bryn, I think she's just hurt. I think she feels betrayed and abandoned by Bryn. I think that they were friends before the show. I think Sai was trying to be there for her. I think she felt very betrayed when Bryn spilled the beans about Ubah's boyfriend and then sort of, hadn't been reaching out, hadn't really wanting to be friends with her. So I feel like she feels very hurt and abandoned by Bryn. And then also feeling like Bryn is going back to Jenna, being like, oh, Sai says she hates you and all this other stuff. I think she just feels very betrayed. Also, in that conversation, when Bryn was like, well, everybody was coming to Jenna and saying that you were talking crap about her. So why are you just mad about me and when I didn't even say it? To me, that was Bryn being, I actually think in Bryn's own head, she believed what she was saying, that, oh, you're being illogical. You're just jumping over the fact that all these people said you were talking crap about her. But that's actually extremely manipulative because Sai's issue isn't everybody else. Sai's issue is my friend Bryn. My friend Bryn is going to Jenna talking about me, saying what I said. My friend Bryn is bringing to the group the tea that I bring to her about somebody else. That's why Sai is hurt. So I understand Sai being like, I don't care what the world has to say I said. I care about what my friend said I said. Do you know what I mean? And so it is very manipulative to be like, well, everybody else said it. Why you're only mad at me? Well, because you're supposed to be my friend. And that's why I feel betrayed, because I actually expect more from you. You know what I mean? So there's that. That's kind of where I land on Sai. We'll see how everything lands. When did Sai and Ubah become so close? Is it because Sai realized Ubah is dating a billionaire and that's why they're so close? Because I didn't think they were that close last season. Maybe, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but I didn't know they were that close. Maybe, listen, Ubah, I know I have read you for filth for the last 51 minutes and 57 seconds. However, if your husband has some friends, let a girl know. Just saying, wink, wink, nudge, nudge. Okay, billionaire babes, all right. No, I'm just like, so I don't know. And then also like the enemy of my enemy is my friend. So I think maybe they like ganging up on Bryn. And again, I'm not saying Bryn is perfect by any means. She's messy as hell and she's clearly trying to produce the show. But I also wonder if it's like Sai and Ubah have become so close over a common enemy and over having someone has a billionaire boyfriend. I don't know. There could be that. Now let's talk about Bryn. We've talked about Bryn a lot already, kind of where I land with her and everything. So I'll just talk a little bit about her clearly trying to produce the show. She's clearly going to people saying, this person said this about you, this person said that about you. And the work is clearly showing. The other girls are even talking about it in the confessionals. She literally tried to produce Rebecca Minkoff in the scene, being like, well, if she says about your clothes, you could say, well, I have my own fashion brand and you sold your sweatshirts at BravoCon. And Rebecca was like, no, that's like not actually my personality. So like, no, I wouldn't say that. And Bryn's like, well, you're not going to last long here. And Rebecca's like, mm-hmm. You know, clearly trying to like literally produce people and give people shade. It's like, calm down, Bryn, calm down. Like, worry about yourself. Worry about your own happiness, because you're clearly like being a bitter Betty right now. And I don't know what's going on with you, but like you're kind of giving bitter Betty and you're mean and all this stuff. I do feel for Bryn, because I do think that she is in a place in her life where she does that whole sort of like, I'm pretty dumb, you know what I mean? But I'm also like, I'm also pretty smart. She kind of plays that like sex kitten, poor little rich girl, like the act. Which again, I think is all just like a character. I think the real Bryn is probably very chill and is highly intelligent, and she kind of puts on a little baby flirt voice, is like her protection, her armor. Like, I don't want you to really see me, so I'm going to keep you kind of like at this distance. So I kind of want Bryn to same like I said for Ubah, I kind of want her to just be herself. Like, let us see the real you. You don't need all of this pomps and circumstance, because I actually think without all of the other extra layers of BS with Bryn, I actually think I would really like Bryn if she would just be herself and take off all of these layers of doing the most and all this extra stuff. She needs to just sort of be herself and let that be enough without all the extra stuff. Because I actually think Bryn was probably a pretty cool girl, to be honest with you. I do. I think she's pretty cool. I think she's messy as hell on the show. I think she's very strategic. I think she 100% is trying to play producer. Speaking of playing producer, Bravo needs to be careful with that. How many lawsuits does Bravo already have for saying that they create an environment where their talent feels pressured into drinking when they don't want to? You know what I mean? How many lawsuits do they have? And every episode that Bryn actually talks to Rebecca, she keeps saying to her, why don't you drink? I want you to drink. Ugh, I can't believe you don't drink. You need to drink. If Bryn is playing producer, then an actual producer needs to step in and say, hey, Bryn, maybe lay off of pressuring Rebecca to drink, considering the fact that we are currently in litigation for that exact issue. Because whether or not Bryn is an actual producer, because she's not, she's talent, right? But she's playing producer. It's still a work environment. And the person that somebody would sue wouldn't be Bryn, it would be Bravo, it would be NBC, because that's the work environment, and no person in position stepped in, intervened. So they need to be careful with that. They need to be careful with that and watch that, because I counted multiple times on camera where Bryn was sort of, I'm not using the word bully because that's such a big word, but sort of, in my opinion, did a little bit of pressure, a little bit of poo-pooing on Rebecca for not drinking. And I think they should just be more sensitive to that, more hypersensitive, given the fact that they are currently in litigation over that. The Leah McSweeney lawsuit is going full force against Andy Cohen and Bravo NBC, because she was smart and got different lawyers, unlike Brandy and everybody else who got those shady lawyers that Bethany Frankel had. Anyway, that's for a whole other conversation. But they should just be mindful of that, is what I was just saying. So that's kind of where I land on Bryn. I do find her interesting. I do want to see what happens with her, but I want her to take off the mask. Okay, Erin. We talked about Erin. Pretty much said everything I had to say about Erin before, with like her husband and everything going on with that. If I was her, I would run. I would be divorced ASAP. Erin, let's talk about strategic alliances. I think Erin has a surface alliance with Ubah. They're like besties and they're so close and they talk all the time. However, I don't think Erin, I think she forgave, but she didn't forget how Ubah flipped on her last season and like came for her neck over and over and over again, snatched the sunglasses off of this woman's face and just kept coming for her, right? With the whole phone incident, the phone prank, which I'll talk about real quickly, just to give context to this, to why I think all of this is going on. So Ubah's personality, as we've seen, which I personally, whatever, like I don't think anything of it really, but she gets hot and she gets heated. And so when she's upset, it's no, 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 and da, 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 and she's gonna tell you like it is, and she's gonna go and she's gonna go, and she's gonna go, and she's gonna go, and she's gonna hammer it and hammer it and hammer it and hammer it. She did it last season to Erin. She's doing it this season to Bryn. It is what it is, whatever. However, when you are on the receiving end of that and you think this person is your friend, I think you start to feel some type of way. So, do I think Erin and Ubah actually made up? Yes. But do I think Erin trusts Ubah? No. Do I think Erin really likes Ubah? Sure, but not as much as she did prior to what happened last season, and vice versa. Ubah also talks about Erin behind her back. And then I also think Ubah's alliance with Erin is strategic. I think she still needed someone on the show to be friends with. Also, her relationship with Sai is strategic, both of them, because they needed someone on the show to have an alliance with. And what I think happened between Erin and Ubah was this: why the whole phone prank blew up the way it did. So, reminder, last season, Erin took Ubah's phone for like 45 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever the case may be. They made it seem like it was like all night or something, but then it came out that it was like an hour or 45 minutes, something like that. That's just like a prank. Ubah had left her phone in a Sprinter van. Erin went back and got it, and she kept it as like their little, show pranks or whatever. They always trying to be funny about it. And then Ubah lost her GD mind. She went bonkers. She went bananas. She was yelling. She was screaming. She was being mean. She was icing Erin out. They had the huge blow up the next morning. She snatches her sunglasses off. And the entire time, Ubah is like, I am a single woman and my family needs to be able to contact me. I need to be able to check in because they're so worried about me because I'm single. I'm on my own, blah, 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 blah. Remember she said that? Ad nauseum, lying through her teeth. Ubah, the real reason why you were so angry was because you couldn't get in touch with your boyfriend, Oliver. You were worried if someone found your phone, what would they find in there with your boyfriend, Oliver? Is he trying to contact you and he can't? Are you worried about that? That's what you were really worried about, because the entire time you're ranting that your sisters and your mom can't contact you because you're a single woman and they're so scared about what you're doing, even though they knew that you were literally with an entire film crew filming an international television show with Bravo NBC. So you were clearly okay. And it was for about 45 minutes. Girl. Bravo Phantom says it was for more than 45 minutes, they said on reunion. Also, Erin and everyone had gone to bed. Only reason I was going back because I said Erin hasn't. Gotcha. Okay. With that too, both scenarios, the reaction was still over the top for what happened, in my opinion. And I think ever since then, that friendship has been fractured. But as we know in the House of Wives universe, you make up when you want to make an alliance. So I think the surface alliance is Erin and Ubah. I think the true alliance is between Sai and Ubah, as like we got each other's back no matter what. They have like their little pack. But then I also think there's an alliance between Erin and Bryn, because multiple times we saw that, and also Erin and Jenna. I think that Erin and Jenna are going to play into having some type of beef or feud or not being as cool but I'm not sure how real that is because Jenna said that she had even called Erin to give her the heads up that the whole conversation about whether or not Jenna is poor, can pay for an Uber was going to come up and for her to be prepared to talk about it. Right? So I think that the fact that Jenna is giving Erin heads up about what storyline to come out and how to be prepared for it is an alliance. Also, the reason why I think that Erin and Bryn are the true alliance is because when Bryn and Ubah are fighting, look at Erin's face. You can tell she is like eating it up and she's loving it. And she's sort of like, yeah, like Bryn can say to Ubah what I wish I could say to her, but I'm scared to say it, but Bryn will say it. You can see she's kind of like eating it up. And then also, clock this. Did you see at the very end of this episode with the they have like the closed caption or whatever it's called at the end where they show you what they're saying. And Bryn's getting upset and she's like getting like really mad. She's like, I don't want to be here. I don't want to be around these women. Like, I want to leave. I don't want to deal with this. Those two are being so mean to me, blah, 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 blah. And Erin goes, stop. She goes, stop. And she said, I wrote it down. She goes, what did she say? She said, Oliver wants to marry. Wait a minute. Oh, I wrote it down. Anyway. Oh, she said, you're giving them what they want. That is what Erin says to Bryn, meaning Sai and Ubah want Bryn out. They want to ice her out. They want her to break down. They want her to look bad. They want her to either be off the show or be the villain and look horrible because Erin says, you're giving them what they want. And when she said that, that solidified for me, okay, this is the real alliance. Sai and Ubah, Bryn and Erin. And I think on the side, Erin and Jenna. Because she said you're giving them what they want. That right there sums it up. And I think she's right. I don't think Sai wants Bryn off the show, but I think Sai is really hurt and she wants Bryn to pay until Bryn truly understands how hurt she was and actually apologizes for hurting her. But I think Ubah would be fine with Bryn getting off the show or breaking down, and they are just deflecting everything onto Bryn. Again, I'm not saying Bryn is innocent. I don't think any of these women are innocent. I think they're all playing the game. But it is what it is. So when Erin said you're giving them what they want, that to me, I was like, okay, this solidifies all of the alliances. And that's what I really think is going on here. Now let's talk about Jenna. Jenna, to me, am I the only one? I like Jenna, but I think she's a bit overrated. I don't think she's Jenna effing Lyons. Like, who cares? I will say this with Jenna. Don't be another cautionary Bravo tale when it comes to money. Now, do I think Erin called her poor? No. Do I think Erin alluded that maybe she was having money difficulties and that's why she didn't pay her back the $250? Yes. But that's not being poor. That's, you know what I mean? Anyway, but I say this, the reason why I say that to say this, all of a sudden Jenna shows up with like over $250,000 Bentley hybrid car. Like, who are you showing off for? To prove to the world and to these women and to Bravo fans that you're not poor and you have money like that? Girl, don't go into debt trying to stunt in front for people who aren't going to help you get out of that debt. You know what I mean? And as we've seen, people who we think have all this money, who are, balling and doing this and that, turn out that they don't have the money. Some of them are fraudsters. Look at what happened to Thomas Girardi and Erica Jane. Turned out all their money was stolen money, fake money. Look at a bunch of other people who turn out to be broken in debt and all this stuff. So Jenna, don't go out here flexing and fronting, trying to flex like you have all this money for what? Because I ain't helping you if you in debt. You know what I mean? So who are you flexing for? Us? Girl, bye. Listen. And again, where is Jenna getting all this money from? Erin was like, oh, she has a $10 million here, $10 million there. And I'm not counting anybody's money because don't count my money. I'm not counting your money. But I'm also not in a reality television show either. What I'm saying is all of those things cost a lot of money for upkeep. You have a $10 million home or a penthouse or apartment. Think about how much you pay every year in property taxes. Think about the maintenance, the electrical bill, the phone bill, the water bill, upkeep and upgrades. I'm sure that there's probably like HOA fees or something like that. If you live in a building, you probably have building, like it costs a lot of money to maintain that type of lifestyle. And I do believe Erin when she said Jenna was just talking, in confidence with ladies, like, there are days that are lean and there are days where it's good, but there's days where money it isn't coming in. And I think that's so relatable and so real. And I would rather her have that conversation than show up with an over of $250,000 Bentley that I probably is either being leased or rented, wasting that much. To me, that you're just wasting money. Like, for what? Like, for us, we don't care. Like, to me, you look stupid. I'm gonna tell you the truth. When you showed up with that, I was like, this isn't a flex. You look dumb. That's just how I felt about it. Because you're clearly doing it trying to stunt in front. You know what I mean? Like, you didn't have a beat up vintage car. You can lie and say it was to be cool for aesthetic, but stop it. That breaks down, and then you don't pay your friend back for an Uber, but yet you want to show up in over of $250,000. To me, a person with true money would have paid the $250 Uber back to Erin, or even just a person with integrity. Because if my friend fronts me money, I pay them back. Regardless if they're like, oh, Candy's once in her life said she had money problems. Whoa. You know what I mean? I would still pay them back. So Jenna to not pay back Erin because Erin said Jenna once said in her life she had money problems doesn't make sense unless you actually have money problems and you're being petty. Bye-bye. Bye-bye. So Jenna, watch yourself with that one, because I don't know, it just seemed very stunting and fronting. Very stunting and fronting to me. I like Jenna. I could take her or leave her though. I don't think she's all that. I don't get the hype. I don't drink the Jenna Lyons Kool-Aid. I don't. Okay, Jessel. Jessel. I can't get behind her. I know. Let's talk about Jessel. Okay. I've said it before and I'll say it again. I think that Jessel and Pavitt are in a arranged that marriage that they arranged themselves together. I think that these were two best friends who, whether it was through their own pressure, parent pressure, societal pressure, cultural pressure, I think that they decided, let's get married and do life together because we're a certain age. We have all of these pressures. We love each other as friends. Let's just do it. Because I don't feel sexual, romantic chemistry or love between these two. I feel soulmate, friend, platonic love between these two people. That's sort of how that's what I get between these two people. That this is like, she could easily say, Pavitt is my brother. And that to me would be a more believable relationship dynamic that she has with him than Pavitt is my husband. I don't see it. I don't. I don't know. And the fact that he disparages her in front of the children, and it's more like, when you get here, I'm getting a day off. Not like when you get here, we're gonna have a date night or I want to be with you. I don't know, something's off. Just I don't know. I don't know. This is the thing. I'm not mad at it. I don't judge people's relationships. I don't judge people's anything like that. I say like my opinion and vibe on it. But by judge, I mean I don't look down on anybody. I don't judge it in that way. And I think sometimes the most beautiful marriages and the most beautiful partnerships are two people who genuinely have a, love for each other and they want to do life together. Or sometimes there are marriages, like I think in Salt Lake City between Meredith Marks and her husband. I think that was romantic love that turned into platonic love. But it's like, well, since we already are married, since we already have these businesses and these kids and X, Y, and Z, let's just do life together, even though it's not in this sort of behind the scenes traditional man and wife, sort of you do you, I do me, but we still keep this unit together as this sort of family that we've built together, and we have our own understanding of it. And I think that's fine. I think however you want to live your life, however you want to structure your life, however you want to structure your marriage, however you want to raise your kids, as long as it's healthy and, non-abusive, knock yourself out. And I kind of feel like that's what happened with these two. They were like, we love each other as friends. We're best friends. We have all this family pressure and societal pressure. Let's just do the damn thing. And I think that's what we're seeing. She said she didn't get a card, for Mother's Day or her birthday or something like that. You don't get her a card, Pavitt? Like, you stop that much and no gifts after the kids? Like, at least keep up pretenses. And I don't care what anybody says. He did not go to Vietnam just for a sandwich. Ain't nobody stupid, Pavitt. You did not get on a plane and fly all the way to Vietnam, do X, Y, and Z for a sandwich. Boy, bye. Miss me with that. Ain't nobody stupid. I don't know what you were doing, but it wasn't just for a sandwich. Anyway, he kind of reminds me of like Ray Romano, the way he talks. Now, I will say this. I do think that they genuinely love each other. I do. But I don't think it's that traditional quote love that we think of between like two sexually stimulated people. And it doesn't have to be. You build your life how you want to build it. You do what works for you and what makes you happy. What I'm worried about is the situation about, and I'm not sure if it's just for storyline or if it's true, but this whole embryo, she wants a girl, he doesn't thing. I don't know if that's just for story, if they just need something to talk about. And this is something that they have. And so like, let's just make this a storyline for us. So we have something going on, because besides the embryo, what do they really have going on between the two of them? And Jessel, I saw a headline. I didn't read the article, so I don't want to speak too much on it. But something about how she said she was much more guarded this season. And I think that's the wrong approach to take, because I feel like Jessel's energy is still first season nervousness. I still don't think we're seeing the real Jessel. I still don't think her accent is real. I don't think she really lives in New York City, or she just moved here. The whole like being scared of the MTA thing, that wasn't cute. That was bizarre. I don't care how rich and how hoity-toity you want to pretend to be. If you are a true person who lives in New York, whether you actually take the MTA or not, you don't have that sort of reaction to it. It just seemed off to me. I think Jessel is also kind of fronting. I don't think we've really seen the real her. She still seems very nervous. I think she's a sweet person. I think she's a good person. I think she's really funny at times. But she still seems to be wearing a front. And I don't think we've seen the real her. She's still kind of nervous and sort of wishy-washy around the women. And again, I would rather just sort of, and this is sort of a note for all of the women. I wish all of them, except for Raquel and except for Rebecca, because I actually think the two newbies are actually, of everybody, is being the most themselves, would just sort of take a step back and just be like, this is who I am, and just show up as they are. You know what I mean? So it's kind of where I land on Jessel. I like her, but again, this is sort of how I feel about all the girls too on this show. Of all of the girls, is there any girl that you're just like, this is a person that I am invested in seeing? Like, who are you invested in? Where it's like, if they were not to return, you would be like, oh man, I really want to see them. Or you're like, oh, I can't wait until the next episode to see what happens with them. Like, I'm not super invested in any of these women except for Bryn. I know. Don't come at me. Don't come at me. But I don't know why, but I am a little bit more invested in Bryn to see what happens to her out of all of these women. But that's just me. Okay. We talked about Ubah, Raquel. Uh, Raquel, Raquel is a tricky one. She's boring but interesting. Like, she's a little boring, not flat, but boring. But she's interesting because she has really great stories, like her origin story of like what happened with like her father and her father like not being a part of her life, and her mom like creating their own last name, and then living as a straight woman, then finally coming out, and now she's engaged to a woman and being a black or a woman of color. I don't know if she's black, Puerto Rican, Afro-Latina, I'm not sure, but like in that world space, female, lesbian, art advisor in this world and making a name for herself. All of those things are super interesting, but she's a bit boring. However, I want to give her kudos because I feel like her and Rebecca Minkoff, actually, both of them, you know what? I have the same notes for Raquel and Rebecca because I feel like they're both the same. They both are, and I don't know if I'm explaining this right, but they're both boring but interesting. Because even, again, Rebecca, the weird Scientology cuckoo-ness of it all. But then she tells you these stories about like her husband sucking her teat out, because she needs to get milk and while they're out in Paris, and, losing her virginity at 16, and, having sex with this man because she needed him to help her, professionally, and like all these coming out with all these like crazy stories. And then both of them are so vulnerable and so authentic and so themselves that it's refreshing how real they are. Like even when Bryn was like, Rebecca, you need to do this, she was like, no, I'm good. And like she was like cool and this like being herself. So I don't know if boring is the right word for it because it's not flat. But I don't know. I don't know what the right word is, but they are interesting when they do talk. They do have very, maybe it's just the other women talk so much that they don't talk, that it seems like they don't talk enough, but they do have these very interesting backstories and life stories, and they're vulnerable and they're being authentic and they're being themselves. And neither of them have that first year nervous energy that we see a lot of housewives has. Jessel still has it, in my personal opinion, and this is her second season. They don't have that, which is really great. They seem pretty grounded in who they are. And then also, they are nobody's mouthpieces. Rebecca is not Erin's mouthpiece. I believe Rebecca came in through Erin, I want to say. And then Raquel is not Jenna's mouthpiece. She came in through Jenna, but she's not her mouthpiece. And again, that's also refreshing because we typically see the housewives slash friends that come in, and whoever brought them in, they either do one of two things. They either are their mouthpiece and they are just wound up and they are going after people being somebody else's mouthpiece. I'm looking at you, Anna Marie. I'm looking at you, NECA, like all this stuff where they just come in so hot. And it's like, I'm looking at you, Katie from the OC. They come in so hot and they just go after people being other people's mouthpieces. And that's also very off-putting and bad. But then, or they go the other way, which I equally, if not more so, hate, is that they strategically go after the person that brought them in. I'm looking at you, Bronwyn, in Salt Lake City. I'm looking at you, Talene, in Dubai, where it's like the person that brought them in, they turn on in a dime and try to go after the person that brought them in, which also really grinds my gears. But we don't see that with Raquel or with Rebecca. And I think that is super refreshing, where these women are coming in, they're not doing the most, but they're super interesting with their true life stories that they're giving. And then they're nobody's mouthpiece, and they're not turning and betraying the person who brought them in. And I think that's really refreshing. And I actually want to see more of Raquel and Rebecca and what their stories are and what their dynamics are going to be and how they interact with the women and what they bring to the table. Because of all the women, I think they are the most calm, secure, authentic, and vulnerable. And they're not producing themselves and they're not doing too much. So I'm really excited to see what they bring and what happens with them. So that's kind of where I land with the ladies, you guys. So I want to know what you guys think. Are you watching? Who is your fave? Who is not your fave? What do you think is going to happen? What do you think about everything going on with Ubah and Bryn and all of it? Whose side are you on? Put it down below. And as always, be sure to like, subscribe, and share. And so with that, I will drop the link in case anybody wants to come up and chat with me. And if not, that's okay. And if so, come on up. The link is dropped. And I will take your candy cane questions and comments. All right. Okay.